Hi there YouTube, this is the Magnus bringing you another Total War Warhammer online ladder battle. This time my opponent chose to bring the Beastmen and I brought the Empire. So let's go ahead and take a look at the build. It has 3 great swords in the center, 3 flagellants, and then 3 of the spearmen. Behind them I have 3 crossbowmen. Are you noticing a bit of a trend here? I think I am. 1 Amber Wizard, and the General of the Empire. Looking at what my opponent did, some unconventional stuff was pretty cool. He has 2 Razor Gore Herd here on the one side. Of course, I can't see them now. Over on this side, he brought a Razor Gore Chariot, and then across the center, he has Gore Herd. He has 4 Gore Herd with shields, 1 Best Gore Dead Center. And then behind that he has Kazarak the One-Eye, he has a Bray Shaman of Beasts, and of course 2 Gorbals with toughness potions. Oh, I forgot to mention, I also have the Royal Altdorf Griffites hidden over here in the forest because I was hoping it would give me some vision, and also because, well, that's a great unit to hide and use later. So let's go ahead and take a look at how things go. Now, generally in this matchup, I like to bring 1 artillery piece, 1 cannon in case there is some Centaur action or giants. But on this map, because of the giant mound in the center, you really want to discount artillery altogether. And in a lot of ways, also missile units are a lot less effective. Because unless you're sure you're going to push and be over the hill, like, you know, somewhere along here with your line, they're not going to have good line of sight, and you're just not going to get great results. So he comes forward, I'm coming forward. Again, I don't know these 2 guys are here. I have no idea, but I do see this, so I wait until what I perceive to be the last second, and I send my cab after them. In the meantime, the infantry engages, and I send my flying units back just to see if there's anything hidden behind his line. There's not. Obviously, I have a lot more infantry on the field, because you can see I'm getting doubled up and whatnot. And the Razor Gore Chariot is getting absolutely demolished by the Royal Altdorf Griffites. So I'm guessing he didn't notice that happened until too late. And so I was very pleased with that. To melt down, you know, a unit like that without taking a single loss is pretty darn cool. I'm gonna go after his Shaman of Beasts. Spellcasters are generally easier to take down, and they are powerful. Their value goes down as the fight goes on as far as a target, because the less access they have to winds of magic, obviously the less dangerous and valuable they are. So he's going to get his Razor Gore Herd into my archery line, my crossbow line. The Feral Manticore does as well. I'm worried about it, but not too much, because things on top of the hill look very loaded in my favor. But looks can be deceiving when you're fighting against the Beastmen, because a Gorbal is worth like probably 3 regular units. So this is actually probably a toss-up at this point. So now I'm bringing the Royal Griffites in to deal with the Feral Manticore and the Razor Gores potentially. In the infantry lines, you can see he gets into the back of them with some Razor Gore Herd, but I'm going to drop Flock of Doom on those guys to soften them up some. My Flying Corps is having a hell of a time killing this Bray Shaman. He's quite fond of falling over on the first hit and not taking much damage. So, you know, he just kept falling down there for a while. So we get him. Sorry, I showed that to you a little late. So now we're gonna go after Kazarak, and he's gonna prove even more difficult to kill, and a much bigger fan of falling down than dying. So back here, my Royal Griffites are doing pretty darn well against the Feral Manticore. Over here, his Razor Gore, it looks like they had fled and came back, but he hadn't picked them up yet. And right now, Kazarak starts to flee. So I feel like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna kill him any second, and then be able to wrap things up, and it's just not going to work out that way. So he gets some more of his Ungor Herd in here. The Flagellants, of course, are not going to flee. They're going to fight to the last, because they are religious zealot type dudes, and they ain't messing around. But here's Kazarak. My guys are just flying around circling him. They're having trouble hitting him. Like, watch, see? And then when they do, they just give him like this little push, and then they got to wait forever for him to get back up. So the animation is really putting it on me. So I get the 3rd flying unit in here thinking that might help. It doesn't help. That's going to go on forever. My beat up crossbowmen start to reform and fire again, but they're late noticing there's a Razorgore herd headed their way. But we'll try to address that as soon as we notice it. I have my archers firing at gore bowls here because these guys are always the biggest problem to kill. I mean, I've got all these units, great swords, which should do pretty well against them because the armor piercing. I've got spearmen who are anti-large, and the Gorbowl doesn't really care too much. He's like, you're not going to hurt me. So he's just slugging it out. Here's the Razorgore messing things up back here a bit, so I send the great swords after them. Over here, the Royal Altdorf Griffites have ripped through these two Ungor spearmen, just kind of going back and forth, putting it on them. Look at this. Who's still standing? Kazarak the One-Eye, 239 health. So at this point, I decide, just let my Amber Wizard deal with it. And let's get these guys back over here to start dealing with Gorbowls and whatnot. Otherwise, I could definitely see this swing out of favor as much as it swung in my favor. So I bring them in on the Gorbowl. They're going to do pretty good damage on the charge. But again, he falls down too. See, if you have a unit like Thorgrim Grudgebear, from the dwarfs, and you charge him with 4 flying units, he will eat 4 charges. All 4 will do damage because he can't fall down. He's in that goofy chair, or any mounted lord or hero. But when they're on foot, that first charge is going to knock them down, and the next 3 are going to do absolutely nothing for you. And while I was talking, so let's go ahead and take a look at the tail of the tape. The spearmen were fine. Underwhelming for sure for as chevroned up as they were. Some of them got a good bit of Gorbowl work, but still, just not really impressed. These guys aren't supposed to impress. They're 300, I suppose. The Flagellants, on the other hand, much better. Able to hang in there a long time with the Ungor herd and just about anything they threw at them and get decent bit of kills. I mean, heck, they did as good at killing as the great swords did. Crossbowmen were pretty worthless because of the situation, and the Royal Altdorf Griffites stomped a chariot and then stomped a Manicore and then some Razorgores and then some infantry. So they were just fantastic. Those guys really kicked butt. They cause fear and terror. There's a lot to love there. Looking at my opponent's army, Kazarak did a pretty good job. His Bray Shaman got targeted early. Gorbowls always kick butt. His chariot got punked. This one Razorgore that got into my missiles really killed it, knocked it out of the park. The other one not as much. And his infantry in general, the Gore herd and the Ungor herd, did okay. The best of Gore is pretty disappointing though. So overall, definitely a good game to my opponent. I think as far as his composition, obviously a chariot is always risky, but you've seen me bring them even though I tell you not to. So I can't knock that. The Razorgore herd, I haven't tested them in a long time, but I used to think they were dreadful, and that you were much better off with like Centaurs with great weapons or something like that. But maybe that's changed. So anyways, if you enjoyed the video, if you learned something, hit like, hit subscribe. Until the next time, this is the Magnus, and I'll see you on the ladder.